Hi everyone, this is for all you who are fans of the spooky sessions that we have on a Friday or whenever I manage to get round to loading them up. Now, I wanted to explain a couple of things about the way we're going with the series. You know, the stuff that we've recently had, all of series one that talks about Sarah and how she became a succubus and what have you. Now, Zethero, who's the author of these stories, told me that he didn't want me to put supernatural fanfic in the title of the videos. So I agreed that I wouldn't do that because he said that it's all his own original work. But you see, the problem that I've got with that is that the more you go into the story, I don't want to give too much away, but you know, I've got to be honest with you, and I've got to tell you little snippets. So it's not exactly giving the game away, but I need to let you all know how things are going. Now, the next series after this, if you go in chronological order, because he says all ends up making sense in the end, is I think it's called How I Fell in Love with the Angel of Death, right? And that's a 12-part series, I think. I'm supposed to follow on with that. But what I did find, and I didn't see it before, was when we finished with Sarah and she was busy being sort of like followed by, you know, this angel, right? There's actually an addendum to the end of series one because the fans of Zethero's story were saying, what's happening to Sarah? What's going to happen to Sarah? We need to know. You know, you just can't leave it there. What's going to happen to her? And he then wrote a little short piece to sort of tie things up from Sarah's point of view, right? So I'm going to have to read that to you on Friday, so you get that bit of backstory and then that ties up Sarah's bit, right? Now, if I go straight into I Fell in Love with the Angel of Death, it's another long piece that sort of like will add into the bigger part of the story later on. But because the next piece after this is called Restoration 1, and then there's another bit after that. It's called I Was a Priest in the Vatican, and we summoned up a demon. That actually follows on from when Sarah actually was summoned by Amunda, and it was supposed to be Asmodai, but it took Sarah instead. Well, there was a priest there that got a hold of her and tied her up and took her to an interrogation room and what have you. Well, this tells a story of the priest who got a hold of her and started interrogating her. So we've had Sarah's side of how she was sort of captured by this Amunda and the priest that threw holy water on her and what have you. It's an 8-part series that talks about things from this priest's point of view, but has got Sarah still in the story, right? So it's like we've had all of Sarah's story right at the end, but this next part, this next 8-part, called, and it's actually called I Was a Priest in the Vatican and We Summoned a Demon. So I think it would be best that instead of reading that little addendum that Zathero was done, I think it would be best to read this priest side of things, so you get the mirror image of what, we've had what Sarah's experience was, then we're going to have the priest's viewpoint with Sarah involved in it. At the end of that, I'm going to put in the addendum of Sarah's story, so that gets tied up in a knot, and that's that bit seen to. Then after that is what's called Restoration 1, and it starts to introduce what I then think is the more supernatural part of the story, because it's got a father, a mother, and 2 sons, and they all sort of go into the family business of hunting demons, locking the gateway to hell, stopping the gate being opened by Lucifer so his armies can come in and take over the earth. But in the meantime, you've got them going off and fighting demons and that sort of thing. And that's where it really starts being like supernatural. Does that make sense? So, because I think when I started this thing off and saying, this is like supernatural, and the views have gone down, and I'm thinking it's because when I started this thing off with Sarah, they must have thought, well, where is it going to start being like supernatural? And they've probably just, dropped away and stopped watching. What I'm hoping is that those of the ones who were watching the Spooky Sessions videos, that they'll realise, if I can reach them and say to them, look, please bear with me, because we are going to get into the meat and potato story, part of the story, eventually. Though the way Zathero has written it, you've got Restoration 1, then you've got another 4-part series which goes back in time to talk about how the family got involved in it, and the father, who's called Red Fred, he's given this name by the folk who deal in demonology and what have you. I don't want to give too much away, but he goes on the hunt for Belial, because Belial's got a lot to do with this. He comes back into the scene. He's got a big role to play, and the father has to go after him, right? But that then gets the point where the mother gets involved. We find that, as Sarah said, all the angels were killed in this massacre, but it turns out there was one left that nobody knows about, right? But I'm not going to go into that too much, because I don't want to spoil things for you. But you'll find that as we go into the story more and more, we're going to get it where it's more like supernatural. So, because I'm sort of going down this route, and I could always come back to other things later on, because Zathero, God love him, he's got a wonderful imagination, and with Sarah's story, particularly with the sex, I had to tone an awful lot of it down, and there was an awful lot of use of the off sort of language. So I need to I need to use my best judgment as when I can use this and when I can't. And I know some people just do not like swear words. But I need some guidance from you. How do you want me to read this? Do you just want me to be a little bit more sensitive when it comes to sex scenes, if there happen to be sex scenes, and leave it up to your imagination? But when it comes to the swear words, I think the worst word they use is the F word, to be quite honest with you. From all the reading of it that I've done, there's an awful lot of use of the F word. Do you just want me to go ahead and read it like that? Or do you want me to try and do what I've been doing up to now and making it a little bit more... It's not family friendly because this is not for children, but there could be teenagers. But I'm trying to get real here. I mean, look at the amount of teenagers now who use swear words. Now, I'm not saying every teenager uses swear words. I know that my children are adults now, and they'll use swear words, but because they're adults, I can't say to them, I don't want to use those swear words. What I can say is, mum's around, and then they'll go off and then they'll swear as much as they like. But when you've got teenagers, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of families out there who will say, if you use that language outside, that's one thing, but I won't have you using that kind of language in the house. So, if you can understand, I'm trying to be sensitive. I'm trying to think about it from all angles. But I need you guys to do two things for me. One, I need you to tell me how far do you want me to sanitize these stories, if at all, apart from the sex scenes, which I must admit, I can't read all of those things out because it does make me feel uncomfortable. Okay? I think it's much best left to the imagination. But I need you to let me know about the swearing and how much how far do you think I should go? And two, I need you to bear with me. I don't want to give you any spoilers. I don't want to tell you too much about the story because I don't want to spoil it for you. But it is going to start picking up. It really is, because I've been reading more of the story myself. Because I started reading it months ago last year, but I'd forgotten a lot of it. So I'm rereading it now, and the action is really picking up. It's like it's starting to turn an engine over. It takes a while for the engine to get warm and what have you. But once we get going, it's going to become a lot more action-packed. And I think you'll be happier with it. The only thing is that sometimes you'll write a story that's half an hour long. Sometimes that particular episode might take 3/4 of an hour. And there are a lot of people who just don't want the series. They want a ghost story as well. So I've got to find a short ghost story and then dive into the episodes. Because I'm trying to make everybody happy. I'm trying to please everybody. And with the best will in the world, I'm not going to make everybody happy. So if you guys wouldn't mind helping me, just let me know about the use of the swearing. And then if you could just have faith in me to get this thing up and running for you, I promise you it is going to start sounding an awful lot like Supernatural. Because I can tell you this much. Unlike Supernatural, the mother doesn't die. Not yet, anyway. Whereas if you notice in Supernatural, she died fairly early on. The father doesn't die, right? Out of all the Massacre of the Angels, there's one left. You find out about him. You find out about Lucifer's children. You find out that Lucifer has a granddaughter who has turned against being a demon, but she still looks like one, and she hates being one. So she's having to convince them that she's really on their side and not trying to trick them. You find out that, one of the main characters has got a direct line to God. So there's that in it as well. So you've got the father, who's called Fred. You've got the mum, who's called Sandy. And there's two sons, Trevor and Colin. And one of them has been out and doing the family business, and the other one has been in college. And then he's having to come in and help with the family business. So it's... Do you see where I'm going there, where it's like supernatural? And then they start going off and having these various adventures because Lucifer wants the gates to hell opened, so he can get through this guardian temple and slaughter whatever angelic beings are left, including this one that's there and any others who happen to be who managed to pop down and give him a hand. And then you've got the angelic side, who's desperately trying to keep Lucifer and his armies out. You've got Fred desperately going after Belial. So you can see where the action's going to be. But like I said, these are snippets. But you haven't got the full story, you haven't got the full background, so I'm trying hard not to spoil things for you. So anyway, that's basically what I wanted to say to you. I do want to thank you for all the people who come regularly. I know many of you just watch and don't comment, and I do fully understand that. I really do. But if you haven't commented before, if you wouldn't mind helping me out this one time and telling me what you think and what you want, that would be fine. If you don't want to comment, there's no pressure. It's just, you are entitled to have your voice and your opinion. I do this for you. Don't get me wrong, I get a lot out of it myself because I enjoy the stories. But I can sit and read them in my own time. So I much prefer reading them out loud to you. And I love getting the feedback where you're enjoying it. And I do need that feedback. Because if I'm not doing things right, the numbers have really dropped off from where I first began. When I first started the spooky sessions, I was getting 200 and odd views. Now I'm lucky if I get 50 a week. And that's great. It's not as if I've got to worry about money or anything, because I'm not monetized. It's not about that. I take the blame because I think I must have done something wrong. But I want you to have faith in me. I said I would bring you these good stories. And these are about the best that are out there, and there are tons of episodes to go. I mean, we're talking about another, oh my goodness, 30, 40, maybe up to 60 episodes left in these stories. And Lord knows what I'm going to find for you after that. So, please, if you just keep the faith, I will deliver. Okay? So, thank you very, very much for listening to me. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, if you've got any feedback, or if there's anything that you want me to do that I haven't done, just tell me, and I'll do what I can. there's any suggestions, any recommendations, anything you want to say at all, because this is for you. And if you're not happy, then I need to know why you're not happy so I can put it right. Okay? Because I want you to be happy. I want you to be spooked. Because that's why you watch. Okay? So, I can't say stay spooky because the guys in Paranormal Files say that. I do want to recommend some good shows to you. There's the Holzer Files, HOLZ or ZER, Paranormal Quest, Paranormal Encounters. There's the Haunted Side. Those are the ones that I really, really recommend. Reason why I recommend them is because they are, well, apart from the Holzer Files, they were through the Travel Channel. So you've got to be careful with a bit like Ghost Adventures, because let's face it, Ghost Adventures is purely for entertainment only now. Zach Bagans is like, he's like a paranormal drama queen. He talks about having credibility, but I think he's believing his own legend, you know, because he's got that museum now in Nevada, and I don't know. He's not who he used to be. He's changed. But these other shows, apart from the Holzer Files, they are made for YouTube only, and they've got Patreons and what have you, but they, a lot of them it's just them. With Paranormal Quest, it's 4 lads. They do all their own filming, they do all their own editing and what have you. And if they don't get any evidence of anything, they tell you. They don't scream and run away from stuff. The Haunted Side, it's Patrick and Jason, I think. And it's just the two of them going around haunted places. And they do live streams like the Paranormal Quest guys do. They do live streams and they actually talk to their fans and they listen. And of course, top of the heap, I always recommend the Foreman Brothers. They were Living Dead Paranormal. Now I think they're called Paranormal Nightmare. The Foreman Brothers, I've been following them for years, and they are totally genuine. You know, from what I gather, the lads who are not in it to make money, they are in it purely because they love the paranormal and they want to provide good evidence, real evidence, not fake, not like what would I call the ones in Florida, the likes of the Omar Gosh, and Ali, somebody, plenty of Ali. I mean, they're all just entertainment purposes only. They, so it's my personal opinion, totally my personal opinion, but there's the G Team and Heather's Hauntings and stuff like that. Apparently Amy's Crypt is supposed to be very, very good. I haven't watched any of her stuff yet, but I'm going to give it a go and see what I think. But the ones that are in Florida, like CJ Faison and Mosaji, and like Holy Walkers, Urban Ghosts, Urban Exploration, sees Crazy Crossroads. It's all purely for entertainment purposes only. I do not believe, sees Crazy Crossroads. One of the last investigations he did, he said that the place where he went to was down as the most haunted B&B in Florida, I believe it was. And when I went to look for it, and other people as well, on, I think it was TripAdvisor, place has never been haunted at all. And he went through and faked all the evidence. And I even asked him on Twitter, can you please explain why in the 90 comments that I've read about this particular residence, why there is not one mention of a haunting, where according to you, there were 15 pages of comments about how horribly haunted it was and nobody would stay there. So, yeah. But the other ones I've mentioned, in my personal opinion, are all up and above board, and they are the real deal, because unfortunately there are some in the field who just make a mockery of the other ones who are desperately trying to do a really good job. So those are the ones I recommend to you. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you. I will see you on Friday, and I think where I will start is, I was a priest in the Vatican and we summoned a demon. So I think we'll start there because Sarah will be in it. Okay? And we'll take it from there. Okay, guys. Love you all. See you on Friday. Bye.